Joining me in the commentary box is Johnny Herbert. Hayley Coxon's in pit lane to bring us all the stories. And Johnny, it's a beautiful morning in the south of France.
Well, it is. It's 9 o'clock. It's 28 degrees, as you can see on screen. So, you know, that's obviously going to go up a little bit in temperature as the day rolls in. But very, very nice. Lovely blue sky.
Lovely blue sky, the mountains in the background. It's a lovely place to be, isn't it? We're not far from the south coast, of course, here. The places like Bandol and just along the coast. Of course, you lived in Monaco for a while, so this wasn't too far away, but I guess you didn't sort of pop over here too often at that time.
No, surprisingly not. No, and in those days, I think I first moved down in about 95, but there wasn't anything really going on here. So, no, I did a little bit with sports cars, but that's about it.
Well, cars are out on track at the moment, just doing their out laps. Just explain to me this unique look of the circuit. Why does it look like this, with all these stripes everywhere?
Well, it's very unique because obviously in most tracks you have a bit of gravel in the runoff areas, but of course what they've done here, you can see there's the blue and the red, and it's just a different grade of paint, and actually you get a lot of grip when you go off, spinning off normally, and it stops you a little bit on the blue, but the red is very, very aggressive and does rip the tyres up completely, but it stops them from hitting the barriers, which is really good. So very unique.
As a driver also, it must give you a slightly weird perspective. I know we're looking down on it from the camera positions, but you're sort of in this sea of blue and red. It must feel a little bit strange when you're driving around.
Probably not really, to be honest, Ben. I think you're focusing on sort of, you know, between the white lines, the edge of the circuit, so you don't really look, and as you said, we're looking down a bit, but you don't really see it so much.
Well, the car on track at the moment we're looking at the moment is the number 21 car of Duncan Cameron. He shares that car with Matt Griffin, and they've put in some good performances already this season. The Ferrari 458 has joined into the European GT3 Championship this year, new for this year as a car. It's a fast car, there is no denying that. They've had a pole position, not this car, but a 458's been on pole three times in fact this year already. Castellacci has had a couple of pole positions, and Federico Leo has had pole positions, and actually rounds 7 and 8 we're going into this weekend. And this car is fast, Johnny, and it's a beautiful car, but it can be a little fragile, so it's sort of a question of how they get on this weekend.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the typical situation. It is new, when always there seems to be a new Ferrari, it's always that little bit fragile. Once they sort of understand it a little bit more, hopefully the reliability will start to come its way.
So, as I say, this one has been putting in some good performances, the number 21 car. Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin sharing this. They had an 8th place finish in the first race at Silverstone, and then they had a good 6th place finish last time out at Navarra, the second race there. So they're currently running 15th in the points. So a bit of work to be done, but they actually shared the car to victory in a British GT race at Spa last weekend. So a lot of these teams combine, oh, he was a bit deep there, combine doing the European GT3 series with perhaps a British GT campaign as well, and of course on top of that some of them are preparing for the Spa 24-hour race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it makes sense to keep the guys together so they can sort of understand each other and actually gel more. So, and it seems to be paying off for those guys. As you said, Ben, there's Spa coming up, so equally the same thing. You need to have a relationship as we see them sort of pop off the circuit there. We see quite a lot of that where the cars use that extra piece of tarmac. They're using the blue, which is grippy, but it's a bit wide. Yeah,
doesn't actually help you. And that is a good question though. I mean, if you use the blue like that, you know, sort of turning into a corner or perhaps on the exit, does that help you? Does the extra grip from the blue mean that you can come out any quicker or not really?
Well, it does, but I think you're just so far off a line. I think you're just taking the longer route around the circuit. It's always better to try and do the shortest route you can possibly do in between those white lines.
Okay, so they're making their way around at the moment. We're still waiting to see some representative times come through as such, because they're all just doing out laps, although we should see this time around Duncan Cameron give us a sort of representative idea of a lap time. Just going across, yeah, that was a 2 minute 15.0, so that gives us a sort of ballpark figure to work from. First practice yesterday they were down in the 2 minute 9s. A little bit quicker in the second session as well, and we'll see how they get on. Now we're looking at the number 24 Lamborghini. This is the car that won the first race of the pair at Navarra. You're on board with Albert von Thorn and Taxis, and the Bavarian Prince took a great victory in that race at Navarra last time, in that first race. Great battle it was with the BMW Z4 in the closing laps. Ooh! And that's not really what you want to be doing in qualifying.
No, not particularly, no. That was a bit tight, wasn't it? A bit tight, but he got away with it. But no, he's done a great job. It was funny you said who it was. All you have to look at is his legs.
I know. Just
then you know
in.
exactly who's in there. He's so tall. I don't know how he is, about 6'3".
Yeah,
something like that.
He is a tall guy. Look at that. I love the fingers.
That's very nice. Look at that for a prince.
The fingers on the steering. I wonder how he holds his teacup.
Very similar by the look of it.
So there it is, the Lamborghini Gallardo that won then at Navarra. He's had a horrible start to the season. He's actually the reigning ADAC German GT champion. But this season, both in the German Championship and in European Series, he started off really quite badly from his point of view, with lots of problems, silly little errors maybe from one or other of them. But it's a good combination, him and Nick Melnoff, the Austrian 32-year-old, and they've been pretty strong together, I think. Now, what's been going on here? This is a new car, by the way, to the series, the number 5 Ferrari. This was when he went around the outside. That's the thing, there is some traffic out. There's a lot of GT3 cars here this weekend, and actually getting a clear lap is going to be a challenge, I think.
Well, I think it always is at any racetrack, and he had to get past. And here we are with a car on the track, on the right side of it. There we go.
And that's key, because that's the number 35 BMW, the championship leader car, and he's made a bit of an error there.
Yeah, well, I think it's the early days of qualifying. Of course, it's where the tyres are not quite up to temperature, and we are, okay, it's 28 degrees, but of course you adjust the tyre temperatures accordingly, and obviously he's not quite got the grip needed to keep it on the track.
Sadly not. There's the number 50 Ferrari of Castellacci, who's had, as I say, some good performances in qualifying already this year. But at the moment, the fastest car on track is the Lamborghini of Von Thurn Taxis, fastest on a 2:08.157. A good lap that was from Albert. We saw some of it. Some of the Mercedes out there, of course. You've got the number 45 car. That's the Heiko Motorsport car of Patrick Hirsch and Philippe Saladeka. And the Mercedes, I think, could go quite well here this weekend. We've got one that's just got into second place, their teammates' car, actually, of Bryce Bosey and Dominic Baumann. And it's a big, powerful, yes, heavier car, but that power should work pretty well on the long Mistral straight, interrupted as it is by a chicane these days.
No, absolutely. Again, the original straight, Mistral straight, was 1.8 kilometres long. Like you said, Ben, now there is a chicane in the middle of it, which they're just coming up to now. There you go, he'll do a left. There's quite a few sort of different. There's actually one just a little bit up 50 metres before, so there's a few different types of track that you can actually have here, but they always use that chicane. But it's quite surprisingly, for a big long car, it's quite a nimble little thing as well, so it's been quite successful in its early days of racing.
Yeah, our TV compound is just near that chicane, and I was watching a little bit of their practice yesterday, and the Mercedes look very good under braking particularly. They seem to be able to carry a lot of speed in, stable on the brakes into the first part, and got the power out as well. Now there's the 35 BMW championship leading car, the faster racing by DB Motorsport BMW Z4 GT3. Jeroen den Boer at the wheel at the moment. Let's just see what happened a little moment ago, Johnny. Let's just watch. You had the Mercedes come down the inside of him.
It. Mercedes and Mercedes, wasn't it?
BMW. He's in the BMW.
Oh, it's the BM35.
Yeah, but just got it a little bit wrong going into the corner. So, back with the number 45 car, the Heiko car of Philippe Saladeka. Let's see what his time is as he comes across the line. Just coming up to it. Not going to be quickest by any means. 2:10.2. So he's 6th fastest at the moment. It's still Albert Van Thurn Taxis fastest. Dominic Bauman's 2nd fastest. Another Mercedes. Philippe Gioc is currently 3rd fastest. 4th fastest is number 15 Audi R8, and that is the car of Jérôme Demey. And then also going well, the number 4 Mercedes of it's normally the Joachim Lambo car, but Degustier in it at the moment. And so Mercedes are going well. Grégoire de Moustier is in that car, so the Mercedes are running well at the moment. You're looking at the number 7 BMW here of Csaba Walter and Claudia Hurtgen, and where are they at the moment? Currently 10th quickest with that car. Csaba Walter is in the car at the moment, and they're the ones on Dunlops. Remember, there are 2 BMW teams. One team is on the Michelin, the championship leading team is on Michelin, but the other team on the Dunlops, which can come into their own when it's very hot. Maybe here, it's quite an aggressive track surface here, isn't it? No,
exactly, Ben. I think that's something that could come into play. The Dunlops are very, very, very stable in the race situations, and that's maybe where it's going to come into play, because I think I said before, the aggressiveness of this surface is very hard on the tyre. So you've got to have a good car with a good balance, or you need a good tyre.
Yeah, and their difficulty is actually getting the performance in qualifying in a session like this, where they need to just keep going round and round and round. They gradually get quicker and quicker, but normally it's the Michelin-tired cars that have a slight advantage in qualifying. So we'll see if that bears fruit, but come the races, it might be a different story at the end of the 1 hour. Just a quick reminder, in GT3, the cars runs a pretty standard specification, really, virtually unmodified from the road cars. There are some changes, obviously all the safety features, but not a huge amount of modifications are allowed. Limited tuning, not much changes on the car. The springs they can change, anti-roll bars, but there's no front aerodynamic changes from the original car. So although they can play with the rear wing a little bit, they've just got to balance what they've got, haven't they?
Yeah, and the brakes, of course. The brake, if you had a normal standard road car brakes on these things, they would only last probably half a lap. They'd absolutely just burn out completely. So they need proper racing brakes on them.
A flash from Java Walter as he goes across the line. He's in 8th place now, but he obviously would like to get past Duncan Cameron's Ferrari, but Cameron's on a quick lap himself, so that's not going to happen for the moment. Number 16, Audi's just crossed the line in 9th place. Patrick Hirsch in the car at the moment. I think Pierre Hershey, sorry, in that one. And so into the pits has come our fastest car so far. That is Albert Montour and Taxis. Now, what's going on here? Another spin for... Oh no, actually, steam pouring out, or is that tyre smoke pouring out of the number 11 Mercedes? That's the Gravity Charouz racing car, and it's Leonid Machitsky in the car at the moment. What was going on there? Any ideas?
Not really. I suppose the only other guess is a bit of contact and then maybe a bit of bodywork rubbing on the tyre. It seems to have stopped now. So anyway, not sure.
2 Aston Martins in the series. This is the number 9 car. This is Gaël Lesoudier currently in it, but it is shared with Max Martin, who also does GT1 as well. So he's got another busy weekend. Oh, and there's more problems for one of the BMs. Is that the 35 car that we saw in trouble with the spin early? Yes, it is. So it is Herbert Voss. He's having a bit of an entertaining time. The championship leader, sharing the championship lead with his co-driver Jeroen den Boer, and he's having a bit of an entertaining morning here. Perhaps he's not fully awake yet, I don't know, or whether there was another car involved.
Well, the car seems to be sort of moving around a lot as well, so I don't know if he's got a suspension problem or something. Normally that's when the wheel is a little bit loose at the front or something. It's coming in definitely. Yeah. Because it's definitely the way it was weaving around. It seemed a little bit odd.
That didn't look quite right, did it?
No, not the best time to have a problem either.
Now the Porsche's going much better here, which is encouraging. Paul van Splunteren here has just gone 3rd quickest, and I noticed yesterday in practice they were much more on the pace. So much so that I wondered if there'd been any changes to balance of performance, because slightly there under braking. What they do, there's an FIA commission that actually balances performance between the different GT3 cars in terms of the weight of the car, the restrictor sizes, even the ride heights of the car can be limited by that balancing commission to try and make them all even-handed. And the Porsche did seem to be losing out a little bit, certainly at Navarra. They weren't that competitive, but here Van Spluntren's gone 3rd fastest, and the number 2 car here, that is down in 14th place.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's very good, and as you say, they're sort of trying to get this balance out, and the Porsche sort of struggled a lot more, but as you said, it does seem to start to coming together now. Maybe it's a good thing, because we have this Spa 24-hour race coming up, so that may be a good sign for them. Yeah, maybe they're just timing their attack for the big one, the Spa 24-hour race. Wouldn't surprise me. No, it wouldn't surprise me either. Clever guys, those Porsche engineers. So that's the number 2 Porsche. Just got 5 minutes of this first qualifying session to go. Just to quick remind you, the 2 different drivers each have a qualifying session. So it's generally the slower driver. If there is, they have these bronze drivers who are usually the amateur drivers. They would tend to be out in this session. Some teams, of course, have 2 silver-rated drivers, which is fine, and then they can sort of mix and match which way round they put their drivers, whether they do the first qualifying session or the second. But if you've got a gold-rated driver, i.e. somebody who's really performed very highly in GTs or even in single-seaters in the past, then they would normally tend to go out in the second session. So the quicker guys tend to come out in the second qualifying. But as you see, the clock ticking away on the first qualifying session, and at the moment it's Albert Montour and Taxis fastest in the Lamborghini. Let's just see if the number 2 Porsche has managed to move up any further from 16th, well, only 1 place, that's 15th place for Lapalainen. But his teammate, Jan Halen, is pretty rapid, so in the second
segment of qualifying, we might see the number 2 Porsche really move up the order. So it's Lamborghini on top at the moment, Mercedes second, and interestingly, third fastest is the number 33 Audi. Here you go. This is the winning car last time out at Navarra in the second race, and it also won at Portimao earlier on this season. This is Enzo Ede and Greg Frankie, and saw them actually briefly after the race in Navarra, and Enzo was absolutely delighted that they'd taken a second win. And Greg Frankie, who has got a background of racing some single-seaters himself, he raced Formula Renault F3, then got into the Megane Trophy, then into GTs, and he's really impressed with Enzo, because Enzo's only in his second season of racing. And talking to Greg a little bit, and he's just so impressed with the way that Enzo Ede has managed to sort of get to grips with this car, and the way he's dealt with pressure too in the races. You know, he's really been able to fend off pressure, not made silly mistakes. So it's been a good start to the season for them.
No, I think it has. I think Enzo, yes, you know, he's got no experience at all. You know, these cars are quite tricky cars to drive, but he just seems to be able to take the pressure, like you said, Ben, but also drive the thing very, very fast as well. And even in a race situation, he seems to be able to do a very, very good job. So it's very impressive so far for someone who's really got hardly any experience at all.
It's surprising, but there you go. And they're actually up to third in the championship now as well because of that victory. They're on 60 points, which means they're not that far off the lead. They're only 7 points off the championship lead at the moment. So he's a youngster. He's only 20 years old, but comes from a wealthy background, and he's a confident young man. He knows what he wants to do, and he's learning so quickly. And well, it's good to see, and impressive stuff from that number 33 car, the Belgian Audi Club Audi R8, which had a little bit of a boost, by the way, in the balance of performance session that was done just before Navarra. So let's go down to the pits. Hayley is down there, and she can find someone from Faster Racing.
Can you give us an update on car number 35?
Yeah, we had a problem. The throttle pedal is broken, so it's now lying at the side, and try to fix it and put a new pedal in it, but it will be too short on time for this qualifying, and I hope the second qualifying will be better.
Thank you.
So that's a bit of a shame, but let's hope they can get it out get it all sorted for the second session. There's the car, and it will be Jeroen there who will be coming out in the car for the second qualifying session. So just quickly run through, it is still Albert von Thurn and Taxis fastest in the Lamborghini, Van Splunter in the Porsche, stuck currently second fastest, Baumann in the Mercedes third. First of the Ferraris is fourth here at Paul Ricard. Interestingly, the Ferrari perhaps not showing, maybe different when we see the second group of qualifying, of course, but the fastest Ferrari, the number 50 car currently, is Federico Leo. Fifth is Enzo Ede in the Audi R8 we were watching a moment ago. Tava Wolters come up to sixth in the number 7 BMW, which you're just looking at there on screen. So that car currently sixth fastest. Glenn in the number 51 Ferrari is seventh. There's the Ford, having just run off the road a little bit there. The number 13 car, Paolo Bonifacio, I think, is in the car at the moment. Let me just check that. Actually, no, it's James Emmett. Sorry, my mistake. James Emmett in the car this weekend. So there's a slight change of drivers in that number 13 car. Let's see if we can find out what James did. He just went into the chicane a bit quick, I think. Over the blue, onto another bit of tarmac, slowed it all down, and then took it easy. And that's one of the United Autosports Audis that has stopped at the side of the road. That's the Mark Patterson car. That car got damaged yesterday. Okay. So hopefully no problem. They had to replace most of the front end. He ran into a car in one of the practice sessions and did about £20,000 worth of damage by bumping into a car at about, I don't know, about 30 miles an hour, I suppose it was. But it's just incredible, you know. These might be pretty close to their road car cousins, but I'll tell you what, the specialist racing bits that are on them, they do not cost some money.
Yeah, they do, yeah. So this is always the thing that, you get these guys in the car. Again, they haven't, Mark hasn't got much experience in racing, but it's an expensive way to learn, I guess.
That's the thing, isn't it? They are not the most cheap cars to actually learn all the mistakes that can be made in racing. So we are checker flag out. Yep, so come to 0 on the timing screen. So checker flag comes out on this session, and it looks to me as though Prince Albert has taken the pole for that by quite a margin, I have to say. The gap between the Lamborghini of Albert von Thurn and Taxis and his nearest rival, the Porsche of Van Splinteren, is 0.8 of a second. I mean, that's a big margin in anybody's language, and that's impressive stuff. So the race victory that they enjoyed at Navarra has certainly boosted Albert, and he's going well here today. There's the number 23 United Autosports car, and he's on a good lap actually. He's on an improving lap to what he's done so far. That's Zach Brown in that car. Just trying to see where he is on our screens actually, because I think he's on the second page probably at the moment. We've got 28 cars that have set a time of some sort. He's currently 22nd. So it looks like he might improve a fraction, maybe get into the top 20. But the fastest, as I have already mentioned, is in no doubt at all. That is the number 24 Lamborghini of Albert Montana Taxis. Let's just see the end of the lap here from Zach Brown. Let's see whether he's going to get himself into that top 20. 110. Yeah, he does, into 19th place. So that was a useful improvement at the end. Let's go down though now. Haley is with fastest driver of that session.
Albert, congratulations. What a great start to the weekend.
It's a great start indeed. It's my first pole so far this year. So it's a really nice moment because the pole always counts a lot as a result for me. And I'm very, very, very pleased and very happy that the hours and kilometers of testing that we have done on this circuit over the past couple of years have really paid out. Yeah, the car has never worked as good as now, and I think we really have managed to get the peak out of what the Gallardo can do to this morning. I'm very pleased.
Thank you.
So he's happy. 2 thumbs up, and he's taken, as he says, his first pole for the Lamborghini in this year's championship as well. So they're absolutely delighted. That Reiter engineering run, Lamborghini. They've got 2 cars here this weekend, by the way. We've only had the one Lambo here in the championship so far this year, but we've got a second car for Nico Pronk and Eugenio Amos, multicoloured car, the number 25. Just trying to look where it is. I don't think it's on the first page of the timing, so not as quick as their teammates. There's the number 2 Porsche that we were talking about earlier, that sort of moved up a little bit towards the end. I can't see where that other Lamborghini is. We'll work that one out in a minute. So there we go. The fastest time, a 2:07.2 for Albert Montana Taxis, faster than the Porsche of Van Splunteren by 0.8 of a second. Then a Mercedes, and then followed by a Ferrari. So it's a really good mix in that top 5, in fact, because then you've got an Audi in there as well, all different makes. Then a Ferrari Bengetti, then the BMWs, the Need for Speed cars on the Dunlops, actually qualifying very well. Now that's going to be interesting. They could be major threats come the race. Then a Mercedes, a couple of Mercedes down there. The Aston Martin of Le Soudier and Max Martin starts 12th for the first race. This basically will be the lineup for race 1 of the weekend. They'll qualify for race 2 in a moment. Audis, okay, we've got a bit of a mix of Audis, some near the front, some further down. There's that number 2 Porsche in 16th place, and the Fisher Racing Ford. Christopher Nygaard will be out in that car in a minute. He's a GT1 driver as well, so we'll see whether he can drag it up the field. The 2 United Autosport Audis absolutely together there, 19th and 20th on the grid. Duncan Cameron, he'll be a little disappointed with 21st after his victory at Spa last week with Matt Griffin. But there's the real surprise, the championship leading car of Voss and Den Boer, all the way down to 25th after those problems in qualifying. Well, it's up to Den Boer now to try and put that car up nearer the front row, which is where we would expect to see it. They're normally towards the front, not necessarily starting on pole, but they've been up front in most of the races so far this season. And now there's this little pause in pit lane while drivers are swapped around and then sent on their way once again with the second driver of the pairing. And as I say, you'll get all the gold drivers out there now, the sort of top-ranked drivers that are in position, so teams might send cars out early, as Faster Racing have done with the 2 BMW Z4s. Other teams might decide to make them sit and wait a little bit longer. Green flags around the track, and ready to see who can set the pace around this Paul Ricard HTTT track, the high-tech test track, as it's called, with its hundreds of different layouts that they can possibly run here. But the one we're using is the pretty long version, 3.6 miles, 5.8 kilometres. And as we've seen, the lap time's around the 2:07 mark for pole position so far. We'll see whether anybody can better Albert Montana Taxi's performance earlier on. This track used for Formula 1 back in the early 1970s, and was used actually up towards the end of the 80s as well, but then the French Grand Prix switching to Manicourt, and this circuit then being redeveloped as this test track, which is why you see it in this sort of format with all these different layouts, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 1990 was the last Grand Prix that they held here, but it's always been one that a lot of people have used and still use today in testing in the winter, because obviously the weather is so consistent down here. and the sports cars use it a lot. I know Aston Martin and Audi use it quite a lot to do 24-hour stints down here. So it's still used a lot and still is popular.
Yep. So as we've heard from Albert, you know, they've obviously done a fair bit of testing here, and so he was happy that that performance has been shown up. So number 45 car on track, the Heiko Mercedes, and these guys could go well. We've got Patrick Hirsch in the car now, but both his car and the 44 car have shown good performance in the races that we've seen. And there are some 6 of the Mercedes SLS in this current season's GT3. So there's more Mercedes SLS than there is anything else. We've now got 5 Ferraris, mind you. We've got the 2 Lamborghinis, 6 Audis, 2 Aston Martins, a couple of Fords, and a couple of Porsches, and 4 I mentioned BMWs. And there it is, the BMW, one of them anyway, just heading down onto the start-finish straight. So it's lovely to have that variety, isn't it? Great to see different manufacturers involved, and it's like everybody can sort of choose their favourite.
Well, it is, and I think it's what race fans want. They want to sort of, and they do, have their favourite manufacturers, and we have such a lovely sort of difference of shapes and sizes, but at the end of the day, the competition is very, very tight. Yeah,
configuration, front engine, mid-engine, rear engine, so it's lovely to have that contrast, and there's a nice relaxed mood. Some people down on the pit lane. Looks like this is going quite well at the moment for Patrick Hirsch in number 45. You can see he's pushing on quite hard. It is a long front end to the Mercedes, isn't it? He seems to have a long way to look to the front of the car.
It is a long way. Yeah, it is a long way. Yeah. But it's a wonderful looking car. The gull wing doors, I think you saw when they're in the pits, you can see the way that the gull wing stands out from everything else with those doors. But it's a lovely car that Mercedes have actually come up with. Not the cheapest.
Well, you've got several at home, don't you?
Several.
So up the
matchbox,
up the Mistral Straight towards the famous Scene corner. Lovely right-hand bend, this one, really fast corner. Of course, it's not quite the daunting, it's a bit wide there, not quite the daunting challenge it is when there's no chicane and you've done the whole 1.8 kilometres straight before you get there, but nonetheless, it's still a great corner.
Yeah, well, I guess they're still doing about, what, I don't know, 250-ish, something like that, so it's pretty quick into that corner, and then, of course, you do maybe a couple of gear changes down as you go through the corner, because these cars, like you said, Ben, haven't got that much aerodynamics. They've got the wing on the back, it does help, but obviously they're not designed for that, so the car will be a little bit loose, and as we saw, he did run that a little bit wide on the exit, and they have to be careful, because if they do that too often, the stewards normally sort of possibly could penalise them if they keep on doing it too much.
Good power down there. They do run ABS in GT3, so you tend not to see a lot of sort of squirming under throttle application. Let's just see this is where he ran wide. That was just going a bit quick, presumably, and running out of road.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think I've only seen him go off once, so that's normally not too bad, as long as he doesn't keep doing it every single lap through that corner.
Now, actually, Lunardi there has just gone fastest in that Lamborghini. He's just set the fastest time. Before that, Katzberg, who's already had a couple of pole positions, was fastest in the number 36 BMW Z4. But Dino Lunardi in the Audi R8 just come under 2 minutes 7.2. So immediately these guys are down in the low 2 minutes 7s, which of course is where Albert Montour Taxis was. But you've now got a bunch of quick drivers in different cars in this session. And we might even perhaps see somebody in the 2 minutes 6. I wonder if that's possible or not, but let's wait and see. This Audi obviously very quick in the hands of Lunardi, French GT and sports car man, so he knows the track very well, and he'll be hoping to make use of that circuit knowledge effectively, driving for the Sandlock Racing team, French-based team as well.
Yeah, because what you want to do obviously is not get into traffic now. He's got another Audi in front of him. He can utilise a little bit of the slipstream effect that he might get behind there, which will make him faster down this long Minstrel straight. This is the first part into that chicane, and it's important to get a good drive out here as he turns right. You've really got to get on the power as early as you can to get that extra speed again down the second part of the Minstrel.
Yeah, just seen Max Martin go third fastest in his Aston Martin, by the way, so that's as expected in the Max Martin going very, very quickly indeed, but we're still watching Dino's. His lap time, his sector times are not better, and he's backed off now, isn't he? Yeah. So he's slowed it down. He's not trying for another quick lap, but he might come back at it, possibly. Just looking at one of our other graphics here, we've got a graphic of in our commentary box of the lap with all the cars out, and I have to say, it's a very busy track at the moment.
Certainly from the start-finishing line to effectively the exit of that chicane down the Minstrel, there's just cars stacked up behind each other, and this is where you don't want to do that, because you obviously want to get as clear track as you possibly can, or be far enough back to get that slipstream I was talking about, but without actually getting penalised by getting too close to the car in front.
Yeah, there is danger of them tripping over one another, no doubt about it.
That is a long train, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So it's still Dino Lunardi who has set the pace, and he's just about to go on to another lap, having found himself some space. Intelligent driving, he backed it off. Look, 7 seconds that lap was slower. Good sort of gap, he's opened up a gap ahead of him, and it means he can now get the hammer down again and see whether he can improve on his previous best. Max Martin's just gone fastest though with that Aston, so he's gone from third to first there, at 2 minutes 7.092. We're almost in the sixes now, but Max Martin, fabulous performance from the Belgian. Let's see whether he can go one better, and indeed keep an eye on Dino Lunardi, who's gone on to another lap. So once again you're seeing the contrast, the front-engined Aston Martin versus the mid-engined Audi R8, and they were separated by 0.148 of a second on that last lap. Heading around the bottom end of the circuit through the right-hander that leads up onto the Mistral. This is the little left-hand kink. Lovely corner that, which is pretty much flat out, isn't it? Yeah, that left kink is definitely flat out, and it's a great circuit, because obviously you've got to get onto the powers down these straights to get as much advantage as you can, and then you sort of get to the latter part of the circuit. It gets quite technical, and they're quite long, very, very long right-handers, and they just seem to go on forever, and then it gets slower and slower before you get to the very last corner, which is really, really tight, almost like a hairpin. And then by that time, of course, the tyres are quite tired as well, and you need to get the drive out of that corner across the finishing line. So it's got a lot of different types of corners. First sector, very good. Second sector might not be a best, but it's only a tenth or so slower than his previous middle sector. So if he can really hook up the final sector here. Interesting watching his use of curve. He seems to know exactly which curves he can use and which ones he has to stay off. Well, I think that's just through the experience of driving here, and what he's not doing, he's not going too wide and losing time, because he's trying to keep tight to that curve there. We're coming into the last turn, as you can see, and it's sort of a first, second gear corner, really tight there, and now it's getting the drive, using that curve on the exit, as you see, straight away, and seeing if he can actually get faster lap time. Let's see, is it any different to what he's already achieved? No, he does a 2:07 again, but it's a 0.148. Meanwhile, Nicholas Melnhof has gone third fastest in the Lamborghini he's sharing with Albert Nocturna Taxis, who was quickest, if you remember, in the first qualifying. So that Lambo really is working well here, and now Nick Melnhof's got it into third. At the moment, it's Martin in the Aston Martin, suitably enough. Lunardi second fastest in the Audi. This car, the Lamborghini, third in the hands of Melnhof. Fourth is Nicky Katzberg in his BMW Z4. Bosie in a Mercedes is fifth fastest. Sixth fastest is the number 32 car. That's another of the Belgian Audis, and it's Didier Andre in the car currently. I'm just looking for the first, where's the first Ferrari? I think it's the number, let's just see, no, that's the United Autosport car well up actually. Matt Bell's well up, he's up in 9th place. Let's just ride though here with Melnhof, giving us a good view of the circuit, how he's using the curbs there as well. You do tend to use so much of these curves. They're quite flat around this Paul Ricard circuit, so you can use them quite heavily. As you can see, the car's using them a lot. This is that long right-hander there at the back of the circuit. Yeah, Writer Engineering keeping an eye on what he's up to. So again, another long left here. This is the last one, isn't it? The last. Yeah, this is the last tight one you were talking about. Yeah. Can use so much curve there. Some cars sort of vary how they can actually use certain curbs on parts of the circuit. The Lamborghini doesn't seem to quite use as much as others that we've seen. Slower lap that time, so he stays third, but that's still a very good effort. 2 minutes 7.2. It's pretty similar to the time that Albert did himself. It's just that there's now a bit more opposition out there. Number 51 Ferrari, that's Dan Brown. This is a brand new car this weekend. It got hit. It looked like he had a magnet in the back of that car. The number of times people were trying to take him out in Navarra. And anyway, he was telling me yesterday, this is actually a brand new car. The other car had already done a lot of races, despite it being the first season of a 458 racing regularly. So brand new car. Even then they had a problem with a ball joint yesterday in practice. got that sorted out. So he only got 5 laps in yesterday, and now he's hoping to see what he can do. So he is currently down in 12th place. Sector times, he's got some reasonable sectors there coming up, so let's just see where this puts him in the Apex car that he's sharing with Glyn Geddy. Let's just see where Dan goes, across the line, and he stays 12th, unfortunately. No improvement. His earlier sectors were good, but last sector, not a personal improvement. So he's still learning the track and still finding some time. Now, there is the BMW Z4. That was Brown behind him. He's running a little bit too wide. Shouldn't have hurt him too much. I don't think he'll have lost much time.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, no. Obviously, he kept his foot in, he would have been fine. Yeah.
Mike Parisi, very fast here in a Corvette last year. He uses quite a lot of curve on the inside of the chicane. And is that his teammate? I think it is, yeah, the two of them together. So, actually, that is Parisi, sorry. The other car was Lambot, the guy he shared with last year. So Parisi's got the pink mirrors. And very, very competitive. Look at the split times. He's very quick, fastest first sector of anybody at all. Personal best in the second sector, which is only about a 10th off the best we've seen in that sector. This is going to be a quick one, Johnny.
It is, yeah, and it's interesting because obviously this is that long, well, one of the long right-handers. It tightens up there as it goes through there. A little bit of a dip in the middle, running wide. Then you've got another left, which is sort of second gear, but again, it's quite long. Tightens just on that where that little cone is. So we have a 32 spinning there, all right.
Yeah, that's Didier Andre. He was had been going quite well. He's 8th at the moment. Meanwhile, back with trying to pick up Mike Parisi on the rest of the lap.
This is the second last corner into the last corner.
This could be enough. Let's just see whether he's done enough on the final sector. This car squirms a little bit as it comes out of that last corner. Max Martin still the car to beat, and across the line he is fastest at 2:06.7. Our first car in the 2-minute 6-second bracket. Great lap by Mike Parisi.
And very aggressive as well. There were some corners there that he really threw that car in on the entry of the corner, and that really gave him the opportunity to get that fastest lap.
That was Didier Andre's spin. That was fairly harmless, straightforward spin. Thankfully, no one else immediately behind, and he let it roll to the inside anyway, get out of the way as the Ford came through. Meanwhile, here's the number 6 BMW. Let's see whether this car is going to move up the order at all. The Need for Speed car, and the Al Faisal Edward Sandstrom car, and that hasn't really done anything special as yet, which is interesting. Still waiting for that to set a really representative lap time. And remember, that car is well up in the championship, second in the points at the moment on 63. So that's a little bit of a surprise. Yeah, just pointing out one of the Porsches has moved up. Max Soulé in the number 1 car, he's moved up to 4th place, so that's good effort. Sandstrom finding a bit of traffic on this lap, and Edward Sandstrom needs to try and get a decent lap if at all possible. They had a 2nd place finish in the first race in Navarra. At Silverstone they had a couple of solid results as well, a victory in the first race of the season in Portimao, and that means that they are, as I say, sitting there second in the points at the moment. The BMW Z4 is no doubt about it a very fast car this year, so he's got to try and take advantage, but his first split, as you can see, was not particularly quick. That was about over a second slower than the best set by Mike Parisi in the Mercedes to the first checkpoint. So he's got some work to do here. BMWs may not be having it all their own way this weekend.
No, definitely not. I don't think this would be quite as competitive, I think, as I was expecting them to be here. I know we have the long straights, but that BMW is not so bad on those straights, and you would expect it to be quite good on the corners that are coming up for it here. That's a C corner, the very quick right-hander, but then this is where I would have thought the car would be quite good.
Yeah.
The green on his second sector, but it's that first one that's really harmed him. Very wide there.
Car has got a fair bit of downforce. It's not got as big an engine as something like the Mercedes. It's a smaller engine nestled well in the back of that long front bonnet. A lovely weight distribution as well, but it's nimbleness and its downforce that they really worked on over the winter, and the chassis balance, and they've certainly come up with a great car, but it may not suit this Paul Ricard circuit in quite the same way as it has done elsewhere. Let's see Sandstrom coming out of the final turn. This still isn't going to be anything particularly to write home about, I don't think. Let's see, it's well outside the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Slow 25th. That's all he is at the moment.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that to. Again, those straights are obviously, you do need that straight line speed to capitalise. That's basically almost half the circuit.
I suppose we must remember he's on the Dunlop tyre, so I guess it's taking a while to come in. And also, it's very competitive in this session. We've now got, what, just over a second covering the top 9. Matt Griffin is 9th in the Ferrari. We're looking there at Greg Frankie, teammate to Enzo Eid, who we spoke to in the pits a little while ago, if you remember. Greg Frankie now getting to grips with this Paul Ricard circuit. Where's he currently? He's all the way down in 15th place at the moment, so we'd expect him to maybe move up from there a little bit. Yeah,
well, he is competitive from second. Oh, we've got a 169 just thrown in there by the number 15.
Yeah, Lunardi, Dino Lunardi, you're right. He's suddenly popped into second place, hasn't he? So he's gone ahead of Max Martin in the Aston. So we now have Mercedes, Audi, Aston Martin, Porsche, Lamborghini, BMW, Mercedes. Nice mix.
Absolutely, but very tight in that sort of second place down to, what, 5th place. There's only about 2/10 of a second difference. It's very, very tight. And then from 6th down to about 10th, you've only got another sort of couple of tenths as well. So it's very, very competitive in this session.
And what intrigues me here is that the Ferraris, which are usually right up front in qualifying, not the case here, because I think the top Ferrari at the moment is Matt Griffin, who's in 9th place. Then you've got Castellacci, who's taken 2 pole positions this year. He's down in 12th place. So they don't have that sheer pace and speed that we've seen from the 458 at some of the other circuits. And for whatever reason, maybe this layout here just doesn't suit them quite so well. But that's what's so lovely about the championship, the different cars. There are some places where a particular car will work, others where it'll be a completely different version. The Audi there, number 15, that's the car that popped back into second place, and he's on another goodish lap. I was going to say first sector good, middle sector he hasn't improved, but 37.9 is in the ballpark, mid-sector, and you can see he's trying quite hard.
He has got a bit of traffic coming up in front of him. Hopefully that won't hold him up in any way.
No, that's right. Going to try and get through that without too many problems. We've just got just over a minute to go in this session now, so we are getting towards the end. Very, very close, competitive session that it is. And top 20 cars covered by under 2 seconds, even on quite a long lap here, so that gives you an idea. And by the way, the championship leading BMW, which had problems in the first qualifying, still down in 20th place in this session, so they really haven't had a good start to their day, and it could well change the championship positions by after the end of the first race today. Let's see whether this is any change. I don't think it will be. Lunardi currently second, and that lap was 2:07.1, a fraction slower than his previous best, so he stays second. Parisi's in the pits. He's happy with what he's done so far. Now, is that the number 35 car I was just talking about, down in 20th, the championship leader? It is.
That's it. He's missed that one. That will probably be his last lap as well, unfortunately, with the time that's left, so 20 seconds.
And where his teammate had a spin, he goes straight on. So, surprised the car's not stopping still as they would like it to be. And actually, they've just been pushed out of the top 20 now. So, really going to be struggling in the first race here, and the second race. They're way down for both races, of course. So, and in the first race, they will actually have a little bit, I think, of they're going to have a 10-second. No, they won't. That's the other car. Sorry, it's the number 36 car. It's got a 10-second compensation time, so the 35 car at least won't have an extra long pit stop. That's something for them. So the checker flag is now out of the session, and we've got a fastest time for a Mercedes, and I do believe, let me just see, looking back, no, it's his second pole of the year, in fact, Mike Parisi. He was on pole at the Algarve, Portimao, and he's done it again, and the margin, 0.189 of a second over the Audi of Dino Lunardi, the Aston Martin of Max Martin, the Porsche of Max Sule, which is an indicator that the Porsches are going much better here. The other Porsche down in 16th place, so they've got a bit of work to do on that one. Then the Lamborghini of... a lot of gesticulation going on, and was there a bit of contact?
There was a bit of contact as well, yeah.
My goodness, somebody's getting very upset there. Actually, number 13 is driven by Marcus Paltala, I believe. Which is interesting.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing he's still on his last lap, and of course everyone else has backed off. Yeah, right. I think he's still on his lap. He's got some greens best splits as well, and of course he got held up, so I think that's why we saw the waving arm. Yeah, I see that Audi gone straight in the pit, so I think he held him up a bit.
Yeah, and he hasn't improved as a result.
Unfortunately, no, especially on that sector, he lost a hell of a lot.
Did he?
Yeah.
54, yeah. No, I see what you mean. Yeah, he lost over a second on the final sector, didn't he? So, let's take another look at this.
Yeah, so he's not happy. He waves at him, and look how close that. Oh,
something
that was
flying
something.
Up. Yeah, something fairly inconsequential, I think. But yeah, very, very upset Marcus Paltala, who's a very quick driver, and in fact we've seen him in GT1 in the past, and deeply upset that he got held up on that last lap. So Mercedes coming out on top of this session, so the second qualifying and therefore the grid for the second race. We'll see a Mercedes SLS on pole position. Not that one, that's the number 44 car that's being pushed back. That's the Bryce Bosey car, but they've qualified in 8th place with that one. It is Mike Parisi, who, as I say, had a couple of runner-up finishes here last year in a Corvette, who's going to be now starting from pole position in the Mercedes SLS, and we'll see how he gets on. In fact, we can go and hear from him now, because Haley's with him in pit lane.
Congratulations, Mike, the fastest Mercedes so far this weekend.
Yes, it was a very good qualify. It's the second pole position of the year for me and my team. So I'm very proud for Mercedes and for Graf Racing. We need some results now, and the track is very good for the Mercedes. So we hope to score some points this weekend. And I have some partners too, so it's very important for me. And I hope that we can give them a new victory.
Thank you.
French driver with a French team on a French track. So, yeah, he's probably got lots of guests coming this weekend. But it's a German car. It's the Mercedes SLS, which has taken the pole position here at Paul Ricard with Mike Parisi at the wheel. Good effort from him, but not by much. 0.189 of a second was the tiny margin for that pole position over the Audi of Dino Lenardi, another French driver. So, certainly a bit of French expertise coming to the fore in qualifying here. Belgian on third fastest in the shape of Max Martin with his Aston Martin. And then we've got Max Soulé in the number 1 Porsche. Belgian driver as well is Max. So a couple of Belgians on the second row of the grid. And then Nicholas Meyer-Melnoff, he got that Lamborghini up to 5th place. Nicky Katzberg, who's been so fast in the BMW Z4 and was on pole position at both Silverstone and at Navarra in his sessions, could only manage 6th today. So, as we said earlier, Johnny, the BMW Z4, which has been so strong everywhere, might just be struggling a little bit here. So let's just run through those results with you. Mercedes on top with Mike Parisi, then the Audi, then the Aston, followed by Porsche, Lamborghini and BMW. So the top 6 cars there are all from different manufacturers, and that's really very, very impressive. 6 of our 8 manufacturers all represented in the top 6. A couple of Mercedes in 7th and 8th, then the first of the Ferraris, which was the Matt Griffin car. So he was top dog in Ferrari terms. Didier Andre 10th, Gilbert 11th, and then another Ferrari there, the number 50 car of Castellacci, who's been one of the stars of qualifying this year, but not today. Now Mercedes in 13th place, the Heiko Motorsport car, and then the number 33 car of Enzo Eid and Greg Franke, only 14th in this one. They start 5th for the first race, but only 14th for the second race. United Autosports, better effort there from them. They got Matt Bell, got the car up into 15th place, Jan Halen 16th, Dan Brown and his new Ferrari 17th. Matt Chitsky and Yanis 18th, head of the Ford of Emmett and Paltala. They got held up on that last lap, if you remember. Championship leaders Voss and Den Boer all the way down in 21st position, so loads for them to do. Another BMW down there, Volta and Claudia Hurtgen, she could only manage 22nd. Another United Autosports car, 23rd. New Ferrari of Gravero and Maroc, 24th. That's come into the championship for this weekend. The number 6 car, Edward Sundstrom, I don't understand that at all, way down in 25th place, the Al Faisal car, and then Malagol and Bachelier, Stovicek and Nolan, the Audi rounding out the full grid of cars, the 28 cars. So there we are, we've had qualifying in the 2 separate sessions for the 2 races. We will have one race later on today, which will be highly entertaining, I'm sure. Looking forward to that, as well as the other track activities that are going on that we're particularly focused on. Of course, we've got GT1 qualifying today. We've got the first of the GT1 races, the qualifying race as well to look forward to. So Paul Ricard going to be providing us with plenty of entertainment as we go through the course of today.